Bom dia a todos. Olha, senti a energia ainda baixa,
I
hein?
think
O
your
pessoal
energy is
deve
still
estar aqui
low. You
chegando,
guys are still
acordando. O
arriving,
bom é que vai
waking up.
todo mundo
The
ter
good thing is that everybody will
ter um
have
contato com aquilo que é um
contact with
período de
the
tecnologias emergentes
technology, emerging
para
technology
animar.
studies, and then we will cheer up.
Primeiramente, agradecer
First, I'd
aí a
like to
presença de
thank
todos. Eu já
all of
passo
you
a
for being
palavra
here.
aqui
I
para o
will
meu
give the
amigo
word to
Douglas, que vai
Douglas,
relatar um
who
pouco
will
de todo
talk
esse estudo
about
de tecnologias
the
emergentes,
emerging technology
quais são as
studies, what
tecnologias
are
que a
the
FEBRABAN está fazendo um deep
technologies
dive
in
para o
which FEBRABAN is doing
lançamento
a deep
futuro de
dive
todos
for a
essa
future
gama de
launch.
tudo aquilo que a gente está
We will
estudando.
delve into
Douglas?
detail into what we are studying.
Obrigado, Carol.
Thank you
Bom
so
dia a
much,
todos.
Carol. Good
Então, estamos aqui falar do
morning.
estudo
I would like
2025,
to
né? Esse aqui
talk
é o
about the
segundo estudo de
2025 study. This
tecnologias
is the
emergentes.
second emerging
A primeira
technology
fase
studies
foi
that
da
we have
graduação,
done,
aqui relembrando, né? No ano
reminding
passado a
you
gente
that
fez um
last
estudo
year
bastante amplo
we
de
did quite
tecnologias
a wide
emergentes,
study in
entrevistou
that respect
centenas
where we
de
evaluated
possibilidades que
hundreds
existem no
of
mercado.
possibilities
E
that were
esse ano a
going on
gente
in the
resolveu
market, and this
focar
year
em
we
quatro
decided to focus on four
tecnologias.
pillars.
A gente selecionou algumas
We
dessas
selected
tecnologias
a few of these
e a
technologies
gente focou nelas.
and we
Dá para
focused
ver aqui
on
que
them.
duas
We
desses
can see
quatro
that
são bastante
two
focados em
of
inteligência
these
artificial.
topics are
Duas
focused on
delas, uma
AI.
delas é
One of them
desenvolvimento de software
regards
com AI,
AI
que é muito
software,
bom também como pano de fundo. E a segunda de
and
AI tem a
the
ver com
second
agentes,
has
né?
to do
Como
with
agentes podem
how
ser
agents
podem aumentar a automação
can
e inteligência
improve
artificial. As
automation and
outras duas
collective
têm um
intelligence.
espectros diferentes
The other
de
two
aplicabilidade.
have
Em computação quântica,
a
que tem
quantic
altíssimo potencial e
computation, which
usa
has
pouca
a lot of
infraestrutura, e o
potential,
outro que está no dia a dia de todo mundo aqui
and the
é
other has to
digital
do with
identity.
digital
Nós temos um espectro
identity.
bastante amplo
We have
de
quite a wide
aplicabilidade,
spectrum
potencial
regarding
e AI
maturity,
como
potential in
parte
AI,
do trabalho.
as everything that is being said. This is part of the whole.
E aqui falar um pouco aí desse
Here I would like
estudo
to
aqui,
talk a
esse
little bit about the
versão
study, the
2025 estudo,
2025 study.
ele está sendo
Phase 2, it's still
vai
being
ser
built. We will
concluído e entregar o
have a
relatório
conclusive
só em agosto.
report in August.
Mas já tem percorreu muita coisa
We
pelo
have
caminho, mas eu acho que aqui
done
hoje
a
a gente vai
lot,
dar um
and
certo
today we
highlight
want
para
to highlight,
entender
give you a
e acompanhar.
preview of what you'll
A
see
gente
in
reparou que esse
August.
ano a gente está
And
fazendo
this
um pouquinho
year,
mais longo que o ano passado. O ano passado a gente fez mais
last
ou
year
menos 12
we
semanas.
had 12
Esse já
weeks more or
quase o dobro
less.
da duração.
This is
A gente
all.
começou em
This
fevereiro
year it's almost
e
twice
como ano
the time.
passado a
We
gente
began in
trabalhou
February, and
bastante
just
mercado ao redor
as we
dessas
did
quatro
last year,
semanas.
we are
Estamos fazendo discussões
discussing
com todos os envolvidos, com todos os
all
interessados
of
que
the
participam do GT
interested
semanal,
parties, the
com dezenas de
weekly
participantes.
GTs with
Assim
hundreds
como
of
no ano passado a
participants,
gente fez um
just as we
benchmark no
did
mercado
last year, a
europeu,
benchmark
esse ano
with
a
the
gente
European
focou no
market.
mercado
This
americano,
year we did it in the American
AI
market, focused
realmente
on AI regarding computing. So this work is very
muitos
rich.
números,
This study has a
muitos
lot of
muitos
cases and
instrumentos
numbers, many
envolvidos e a
companies
participação
involved, and the
de muitos de
participation
vocês
of
aqui.
many of you who are here
Hoje eu vou
today.
falar um pouco, dar um
Today
highlight
I
para
will
nossa
give you a
discussão
highlight of what you'll see in the studies for
e
each of these
depois ao
four
longo da discussão também
topics,
na
and
sequência.
then we will talk about it further.
Falando, começando aqui pelo primeiro
So
tópico,
let's
né? Eu acho que
begin
é
with the
o
first topic,
que é inteligência
which
artificial
is
focado em
AI
desenvolvimento de softwares
focused
e
on
platform
software
engineering.
development
Eu
and
acho que
form
no ano
engineering.
passado aqui
Last
no
year,
estudo a gente falou
we
bastante de
talked
inteligência
about
artificial focado no
AI
desenvolvimento de software,
for
mas
software
focado
development, but more
principalmente em
focused
codificação.
in
Era
coding.
muito comum, né?
It was
Muitas
very
instituições já estavam
common.
utilizando AI para
Every
desenvolvimento,
institution was
seja para
already
testes
using it
unidade,
to
para
accelerate
acelerar mockups e
unit
o que a
test,
gente estava vendo
mockups.
foi
And
uma
what we
expansão
saw
da
was in this year
cadeia
was
de
an
software.
expansion in
Um
the
shift left, começar a
chain,
usar
a
AI
shift
para
left
geração de
shift,
experiências e no design
using
system
AI
para
for design
software
system,
experiência do
experience
processo.
design,
E um shift
and
right,
a
como
shift
usar
to
AI
the right
também
on
para
how to use AI
co-criar
to
soluções
operate
com menos atividades
solutions with
manuais,
less
como fazer
manual activities,
detecção e
how to
outfixing de
perform
problemas
the
e uma
detection and
expansão
outfix the problem. So we saw this
e eu falei
expansion
muito
of
aqui
AI.
experiências,
I
né?
talked
Mas para
about
mim lá na
experience,
frente
but
vê cada
going
vez mais
forward in the
AI
chain, we see
fazendo
AI more and more
legados,
helping on
principalmente
modernizing
por
legacy and
decisões,
reducing
por falta de
the
documentação,
challenges because of
muitos
lack
antigos
of
usar AI para
documentation, old systems. So using AI to extract more value from the systems who
por
are
algumas décadas, né?
already being
A
used by
gente
your
tem visto
banks for
principalmente
several
AI sendo
decades.
um
We have
canal
seen
para
AI
desenvolvedores
as
ter
a
uma
channel
experiência
for
muito
developers to
mais
have a richer
atrelada
development
nessa questão de
experience
platform engineering.
tied in with
Platform engineering
platform
a gente falou em
engineering.
termos de
We
portais de
have talked
desenvolvimento,
about a lot about portals of development, and they are evolving for us to use AI as a channel to interact. The topic of the year was the vibe code, how to develop almost interacting almost verbally with the tools. So this has really been evolving. We have seen a few numbers in terms of productivity, execution throughput, and productivity when we think about a new concept which is very frequent, which is teams where I have AI agents with developers working together. We see studies showing that when we have this combination, we have more emotional impacts, quality, and productivity. And to conclude, I want to talk about a few cases from development of environments, like the case of windsurf or the cursor case, which is growing in the market, and also corporate solutions which take into account the legacy that the company has, standards, patterns, architectural references, since we have this capacity of development, but it has to go hand in hand with the bank's legacy. So we have a lot of cases, a lot more details on the applications that we saw in last year's shift. Going forward, to the new topic, which is agents, I think that we have many agents in software development, as we were saying, agents which work as architects or testers, and we see the richness of these agents. So agents are intelligence or artificial intelligence focused on a niche, as I said, a tester, an architect, a risk specialist, and these agents have a contextual memory that understand where they are being applied with more rigor, and they have the ability to interact not only amongst agents but with tools of the market ecosystem. This year, we saw many new protocols such as MCP, which allow for the interaction between these tools and agents. They are acting and they are accessing browsers, and they are interacting for the creation of action and automation in the market. I believe that last year a lot has been said about foundational models. We had DeepSeek, which really called the attention, was really a highlight. Humans have a capacity of execution, but it's not the only one. We have many agents in the market, so it's a topic that has evolved a lot, both in the application as in the tool ecosystem in our day-to-day. Anybody can create an agent in the Copilot. They enter, they define their database, actions that they can execute, give certain executions, and they are able to automate their back office activities or even more technical activities. So it was a great revolution this year in the topic of AI. Going forward, here we see maybe a more of a futuristic topic, like quantum computing. There's an uncertainty of when this will gain scale. For years or 10 years, there's an uncertainty of where this technology will or when it will scale up, but everyone recognizes the importance of the topic. There's a bit of worry, which is using quantum computing for cryptography, how it has the potential to break RCA cryptography. So it's important for the market to keep an eye on how to use new protocols which may have security against the breach of security with quantum computing. There's also this side of the benefit, capacity of parallel processing, which is incompatible with the traditional computers. It's literally an unthinkable capacity For example, there's a lot of usage of computing applied for fraud detection and machine learning. That's a challenge in the industry. Everybody wants to lower that risk. Maybe quantum computing will allow for more sophisticated models. And to conclude, I believe that this year we had a lot of evolution in the quantum computing chips. This was really what really shook the market, Microsoft specifically, but there were others. We visited the Rigetic benchmark. It's also a very important part of the quantum ecosystem. And we captured in the studies, in the surveys, many pilots like Itaú, USP, and Stanford are work with Bradesco and many others. So the industry is really adopting education for this new wave of potential that is arriving with quantum. And to conclude, and so we can discuss, the last pillar was digital identity, different from the quantum. This is already known by you for a long time in this area of fraud detection. And what we saw this last year was that to counterbalance the risks that AI has brought to the table, like deepfake, for example, we have deepfake videos. So many mechanisms are being challenged nowadays. So this has been enriched to treat this topic. Another topic is integrative digital identity. Instead of only looking into biometry, now they're using biometry, identity of your device, uh, your purchase behavior, packaging this in a digital identity which gives even more trustability. This was an important advance, and then another issue is the point that the issue that today the teams are not only people who need an identity and interact with the system. Now we have people and agents, and these agents also need to have a digital identity which have their complexities within themselves. So a lot of evolution to counterbalance the risks and also to take advantage in the case of interaction between agents and humans. So this was an overview with a short time that we have. Last year we had hundreds of pages, the material is very dense, and this year is no different, especially because we had more time. We focused on more topics, so you will see the depth of this study that you will receive in August. So I'll give the word back to Carol.
Obrigada, Douglas.
Thank you, Douglas.
Primeiramente, também gostaria de
First,
fazer
I
um
would like to
agradecimento
thank
especial para a Accenture, que está
Accenture,
conduzindo
who
esse
is
estudo junto
conducting
com a
these studies
AWS,
along with
que entrou como
WS,
parceira.
which
Muito
joined us as
obrigada.
a
Acho que o
partner.
estudo vai
Thank you.
ser
I
um
believe that this
sucesso. A gente
study
está
will be
chegando num nível
very
de
successful. We are
produtividade
arriving
muito
at a very
bacana
high
e
level of
interessante que vai
depth,
auxiliar
which
os
will really
bancos nessa
help
jornada de
banks in this
tecnologia.
technology
E aproveitando,
journey
quando
they
a gente
have
fala em
ahead of them.
auxiliar os
And when we
bancos,
talk
é
about
um
helping the
estudo.
banks,
E a primeira pergunta,
the
Dantas,
first
vai para
question,
você.
Dantas, goes
Quais
to
foram
you.
os principais
What were the main
motivadores para a escolha dessas
motivational
quatro tecnologias?
points
O ano
to
passado,
make
nós
you choose
chegamos a
these four
estudar
technologies? Last year we
135
studied
potenciais
135
tecnologias,
potential technologies.
fizemos panorama
We
de
did an
mercado e
overview
esse
of the
ano
market, and
escolhemos
this year
essas
we
quatro.
chose
Por que
these
as
four
quatro?
pillars. Why did we do
Obrigado,
so?
Carol. Bom, pessoal, bom dia.
Good morning.
Como a Carol está colocando,
As
o ano
Carol
passado,
puts
nessas
it, last year
135,
within this
a gente discutiu
135 we
muito
discussed
o que de repente vai
what
fazer sentido nos próximos anos
is
para o
going to
mercado
make
financeiro,
sense for
que a
the
gente
financial market
aprofunde
in the next few
nas
years so we
discussões, que a
can
gente aprofunde nos
delve
estudos e nos
deeper
prepare
in
para
the
essas
studies
tecnologias.
and we can
A gente
prepare
começou a
for these
discutir isso lá
technologies. So we
atrás, no
began
pós-publicação
to
da primeira versão da
to
pesquisa,
discuss
e
that
esse ano acho que a gente demorou umas duas
last year,
reuniões
and
talvez
this
do Comitê
year
de
we
Tecnologia para
took
que a gente
about
chegue junto com o
two
pessoal do GT,
meetings
de
for us
inovação,
to arrive
para que a
with the
gente
GT
chegasse
people so we could
nessas
arrive
quatro
at these
tecnologias
four
que a gente acabou considerando.
technologies that we
E por quê?
chose. And why did we
Duas
do
falam
so?
diretamente com
To
inteligência
speak
artificial.
directly
Então,
to
quando a gente
AI.
olha
So
todo o
when we
ciclo de
look in
desenvolvimento de
this
software e
development
utilização da AI para isso,
software development cycle, this is practically a reality in every institution, not only in the financial market, but other markets as well, using AI to develop products, to develop softwares, and the whole cycle that goes from this conception until the implementation and tests. And this is really a reality, and that's why it was one of the chosen topics. When we look into agents, this is something that we're not fully it's not fully disseminated in the market, but it has to do with AI. It was chosen what kind of AI we should uh, understand, and this is a reality that we're all also discussing. I believe Douglas brought this topic. It's a generation that is arriving that will have to learn to work with people and AI. And not in the so distant future, we will have AIs managing other agents, and why not even managing people. This is something that we'll have to accept and see what is in store for us in this future. Also, the topic of digital identity. This is a great security issue in the market as a whole, and quantum computing, we really have to look into that. This is something that is very still incipient. It's still running in beta project experiments, but nobody has any doubt about its potential capacity for the market as a whole, bringing things that we don't even know that we need and protecting us from things that we know we have a risk and we really want to avoid them to happen.
So these discussions actually allowed us to choose these four technologies. Two of them are more present in our daily life, and the other two are the ones we are going to deal with in the medium and long terms in our financial market. These are the four ones we chose to delve into and discuss them here, and even get scared with a few things that we see because they have evolved that much. Sometimes it took us 10 to 20 years in order to have great leaps in technology and innovation, and sometimes it takes 10 to 20 days nowadays. And sometimes we want to read the entire paper that's been launched, and we get crazy because every day we have big things and lots of papers to read, and we need an agent to help us read all the papers and summarize them to see what's important and what's not. Now, Marcio, you are the coordinator for the new technology group, and you were with us during the trip. So please tell us a bit. First, what are the main changes you've seen in these technologies, and what can you tell us when trying to compare the group and the discussions in banks here in Brazil and what you heard in the US when visiting the companies? How is that comparison, and what's the maturity over there and over here? Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. First off, the important role of FEBRABAN is to conduct this role because we know that the Brazilian banking system is the most advanced we have, and we will not be ahead if we do not continue to do this work. Well, back to your question. Quantum computation skills, because that's less palpable and it's actually very intense in our agenda, and we have seen lots of evolution. But quantum computing systems or skills is something we saw in equipment, and it looked like an exposition. And today we see lots of storerooms with tons of computing power. At the same time, we believe that we are in a company from the 80s or 90s. On the one hand, we have the production system, which is available on the cloud for you to make a test. On the other hand, on the other side, you have equipment next to a table where people sit down at and actually feed themselves, and everything done with positive controls in a company that's worth billions. That's actually what attracts my attention. It seems to be an old formula. That caught my eye. And also the market's appetite for investment. We visited companies where there were lots of young people who had just come out of university, and they were being assessed in a 3 billion company and deciding if they were not going to be hired or not. That caught my eye, I repeat. But I highlight that more than the opportunity is also creating some awareness to the challenges we have in the Brazilian market. We were able to talk to some of the manufacturers and awaken them to our situation. They were all very enthusiastic and they were looking for us after the event. I believe that was part of the fruitful results from that trip, but also to highlight the participation of the committee and the group. We have lots of professionals, and it's quite challenging when you look at all four of them. And that makes you think, who were left outside? Because that demanded from us lots of care and attention. That's it. Thank you. Thanks, Marcio. Douglas. Why are these partnerships so important? We see Amazon and Accenture partnering to conduct that study, but we can see mainly in the American scenario how they become aligned as one single company, despite the desire to buy, but how they become aligned to develop and study something. What's the importance of that for the market? Given the impact of that technology and the speed, the accelerated speed in the market, one company actually wastes potential if it tries to work on everything by itself. So operating in a partnership makes a difference and actually helps you harvest the involved interest. And we have AI companies and service companies. You have Accenture here. We were in the Omni video. That's a great partner we have, and we need to be close to it to understand what's the potential it has so that we can offer to the market as a supplier something, but also to accelerate our delivery cycles. If you do not have that ecosystem vision, you need to attract resources, which is difficult in the market. It's hard to find professionals who understand you. So if you want to bring over to your company professionals to develop them and then eventually have a verticalized thing, it will take too long. In a market context where we have no time anymore, it takes years, or it took years for innovation to appear, and now we have it in days. So if you do not have that partner network that complement my services, and you have that partners complementarity, and I do not have that sharing process, it's hard for you nowadays to follow that. And not just for those partnerships and people ecosystem, we're coming to a moment in which the ecosystem is also made by agents. So we have our partners, and they will have their agents or AI who will talk to our AI and have a human technological collaboration which is multidimensional. So the cost of the opportunity is way too high for you not to operate in an ecosystem. Thanks. Dantas, what's the case that caught your eye the most from what we're saying? We know that Itaú created a university recently to develop and study, but among that study with the technology, what else caught your eye? I believe that we need to be aware of the cases, and all of them come to the same point. That's education. You spoke about the institution that was created, and several other institutions have invested in education at several levels, whether that's a high school, university, or research institutes. And as Marcio said, we saw many companies innovating with people who had just left the university or who had just delivered their master's or doctor's degree because they have the capacity and they receive investment of other people for them to study and actually perfect themselves. Most of the cases we've seen so far of successful companies in the market do have professionals that invested time and money, of course, in education. So that's basically the challenge for us as a country and for us as financial institutions. How do we invest and how we help education more? Because at the end of the day, the success cases we've seen have been carried out with those characteristics, with people who have that innovative profile and who want to be fully dedicated to test, make mistakes, fail, and try again. And that's the part of the success we saw and the one that we follow in the
Bom,
market
a
every
gente
day.
está nos últimos 5
We are in the
minutos
last
desse
5 minutes of
painel.
this
Eu
panel.
passo agora para vocês fazerem o
Now, I
encerramento,
would
mas
like
com uma pergunta
to
do que
hear your
esperar.
closing remarks with
Qual
a
que é o
question. What
futuro
can we
disso?
expect?
Se fosse para
What's the
apostar em
future of all
alguma
of this?
questão, quais são as
If you were
principais
to bet on
mudanças que a
something,
gente
what
vê
are the
nesse
main
cenário de
changes we see in
tecnologia?
this technological
Começando por
scenario?
você, Márcio.
Starting with you, Marcio.
É curioso, né? Eu acabei de falar que quanto foi comentado que quanto
It's a
coisa de
curious
futuro,
thing.
e a gente já vê banco com
We are talking about the future, and we see banks working with that, such as HSBC. So that's not really far into the future, but I am certain that the most immediate impact will be agents and the application of that for software development. As for education, we require specialized manpower, and you'll have the chance to actually work more with the needs of institutions and working with technological necessities and benefiting them from these opportunities. So, most immediately, we require software agents who can develop that will be the part of the impact. Douglas.
Eu apostaria mais na,
I
vamos
would
dizer
bet
assim, na
more
convergência de
on
sistemas.
the
Eu acho que
convergence of
todos estão com uma
systems.
curva de aceleração
They all
cada
have
vez
a
maior.
deceleration
Eu acho que
curve,
a combinação deles, que a gente
and
falou,
their
né, é a
combination
identidade digital que vai ser
and
usada no
the
agente, o
digital
agente que é
identity
usado
which
no
is going to
sistema de
be in the
desenvolvimento,
agent
quantum
which
que é
is used
usado
in the
para
development
treinar
system.
modelos de
How far
inteligência
can you
artificial.
train the
Então, essa
AI
combinação
artificial
e tirar
models?
proveito desses
So this
desafios
combination and
combinados
taking
aí
advantage of
para
these
o
combined
negócio,
uses for the
obviamente,
business
seria a minha aposta, né? E eu acho
is
que
what I would
inteligência
bet on.
artificial vai passar a ser
And AI,
quase a nova eletricidade, assim,
it
né?
would be
É
like
tão
the
fundacional e
electricity.
vai
It's so
cruzar tudo
foundational
que até a gente vai parar
and
para
it's
prestar
so
atenção daqui a
overarching
pouco, porque vai
that
ser
we will
arroz
stop
com feijão, né? Então,
paying attention because
sobre
it would
essa
be
base
just
de AI, a
something quite
combinação de
common.
sistemas que eu
That's the
aposto vão ser
ideal
os
base.
grandes
That's a
desafios
combination
mais
of those
ricos aí
topics which the
pro
best
mercado.
and richest use cases for the market. Dantas?
Eu acho que a gente precisa, dentro da linha também de educação, nos
Among the
preparar,
educational line,
indo na linha do
we need to
Márcio,
prepare
a entender como é
ourselves
que a gente
and
trabalha
try to
com AI
understand
cada vez
how we
mais.
work with
Como é que a gente
AI more
lida
and more,
com os agentes que vão
how
ser
we deal
criados,
with
se as
the
nossas
agents
interações
which are
serão
going
cada
to be
vez
created
menos
and our interaction will
somente
be
com pessoas, a gente
less
vai
with
estar lidando
people.
muito com
We'll
agentes
be
e pessoas
dealing a lot with
misturadas,
agents and
e aí eu acho
people.
que quem tem um pouquinho mais de experiência
And for
antiga no
those who have
mercado,
more
ou de idade, na
experience
verdade, aquele
or
filme que
are
tinha
older
Perder
in the
5, que o
market,
piloto sumiu, é uma realidade muito em breve.
is
Nós
something
teremos
that
um
we will
agente
start
pilotando
seeing
como a
changing.
gente
We will
tem
have an
nos
agent
táxis
piloting,
Uber autônomos que a
such as
gente
we see in the
presenciou,
autonomous Uber
vivenciou em São
cars,
Francisco.
something we
Você chama
saw
para um
in San
aplicativo, o
Francisco
carro para
that
na tua
you
frente,
actually
não tem
uh,
motorista,
call
você
by
entra, te leva
using
onde
your
quer,
app. There is no
tchau, você sai,
driver.
acabou.
It takes you where you want to go. You leave the
Então,
car, and that's
em
it. End of
princípio, o
story.
piloto já está
So,
fora.
fasten your seatbelts because the
Obrigada.
pilots are
Pessoal, o
about
tempo
to
é
disappear.
curto.
Well, we
Passamos
have a
aqui
short time.
pela pincelada, demos uma
We just
pincelada
gave you
desse
an
estudo.
overview of this
O
study,
estudo segue em andamento,
and
ele
it's
vai ser
actually ongoing,
lançado
and it's going to be
provavelmente em
published
agosto.
in
Toda a tendência
August,
é agosto.
quite likely.
A gente está num momento de amadurecimento
We
interno com a
are during
FEBRABAN e
an
com os grupos
internal
de trabalho. Os bancos estão
maturation
contribuindo
stage with
bastante com esse
FEBRABAN and the
estudo, que
banks
está
that
bem
are
rico.
contributing to,
Então,
to
eu
that study.
convido
So
vocês
I
em
invite you
agosto aqui se
in August
antenarem que a gente vai
to actually pay
divulgar esse
attention
estudo no
because we are
mercado,
going to
não só para
publish that
consumo
study for the
interno das
market, not only for the
instituições, como
internal
também para o
consumption of the
mercado
institutions,
como um
but
todo,
as well as for the
olhar
market
tudo isso que a
overall
FEBRABAN tem
to see
feito
what
em
FEBRABAN
parceria
has
com
done
os bancos.
so far
Eu
in a partnership with
agradeço a
banks.
todos aqui pela
I
audiência,
thank you all
agradeço quem
for
está em
your
casa
presence.
nos
I thank
ouvindo
the
também
people who are listening to
e
us at
bora para
home.
os próximos
And
painéis
let's move on to the
agora.
next panels.
Obrigada,
Thank you very
Dantas,
much,
Douglas,
Vantas,
Márcio.
Douglas, Marcio.
Obrigado, gente.
Thank you.